What is up everyone, my name's Al from GamesRip and today I'm bringing you another edition of Cancelled. That's right, we're focusing on another Dreamcast cancelled title that's only just appeared again in the sort of Dreamcast news. Now we're talking about Castlevania Resurrection. Now before I go any further, I'll give you a quick breakdown of what Castlevania Resurrection was actually going to be. Now Castlevania Resurrection was in fact going to be the 17th title at the time in the Castlevania franchise, and in fact it was also going to be the third 3D installment of Castlevania. Now obviously, you know, up until that point there was not very many 3D Castlevanias, and this was going to be the third. The game's main focus was going to be on Sonia Belmont and Victor Belmont. And the whole premise of the story was that it was going to take place before the events of Castlevania 1. That's right, the original NES title, this was going to take place before Simon Belmont's adventure, that's right. Now, Greg Ordoyan, that's right, the art director on this title, was one of the main people actually speaking about the concept or the actual title before anyone else. There was not a lot of talk really going on. Now it was believed that the cancellation that actually happened in March of 2000 was down to a few disagreements between the two Konami teams, that's right, the American and the Japanese. Apparently they're at a war of words, and this is the reason, or what is believed to be the reason, for the eventual cancellation of this title. Now we're going to take a direct quotation as, again, the reason believed to be why this game was canned, and I've got my laptop here for that. Castlevania Resurrection was a game doomed from the start. When Konami first moved to San Francisco, this was one of the first projects started at the studio. I spent most of... So this is, I believe, a direct quote from Jason Lee Elliott, that's right, the environment artist of that game. I spent most of a year working on bottom of the 9th 99, and this game was still in early stages of pre-production. When I switched over to work on Spawn, the studio let go most of the team working on Castlevania and replaced it with Bot 9 team. A year later, when I wrapped up Spawn and had taken a month-long vacation, I was brought onto the team and there had been much more advancement. The team itself had a lot of troubles when I came on board. Most of the team had only worked on sports games. Sports games? Hold on. Sports games developers working on a action horror themed adventure game? That doesn't compute. Okay, so anyway, so they had no idea how to make a 3D action platformer. The art team wasn't very cohesive and couldn't agree on a direction. The game had been in development for almost 2 years and had little to show. Personally, I discovered that my 3D skills had stagnated from the lack of use, and I was struggling to hit the quality the others were achieving. I'd been at the office almost every day for almost 3 years at this point, and was suffering from severe burnout, which didn't help. After only a few months on this team, I decided I had to quit. I wasn't having fun making games, and I missed Canada in my resignation. And then obviously he goes on to say, a few months after leaving, the game was cancelled and the entire studio was shut down. So, not a great start. The art director, as I mentioned, was Greg Ordoyan. The director of the game was Norio Takamoto. The CGI director was Jenny Ryu, aka Jenny Chang. Thanks to the fans of the time they discovered her, and she said, or way back Machine put, this is Konami game project for his introduction, we can ignore that, where they've kind of penned it on the fact that the Dreamcast was not a failing system, but yeah, was about to be cancelled, or production cancelled. And that brings us to now. Now, as you can see, or as you've seen so far, the images of the game look absolutely fantastic. They're in such great detail. You can tell this game had been worked on for months and months and months, and we're talking a long time. Now recently on the Dreamcast Talk forum, this was also taken off of the other website that you're going to see right now, where they were talking, or where the actual holder of the product exists. That's right, the GDI, or the GD I should say, the actual GD-ROM, is in existence, and it's shown off here. The actual gameplay is shown, as you can see, and, you know, it makes me wonder if this will now ever get released to the public. Now, there is only 5 levels at this point, so there's not a huge amount to really see, but as you can see, the game does boot up, and it is working. Now, obviously, there's a direct link to where this came from, and also a direct link to the YouTube video showing this, but as you can see, this is clearly Castlevania Resurrection in a certain state. Like I said, it's just 5 levels, it's not everything, but this just show. But I mean, really, for 2 to 3 years and all we have is 5 levels, I still think there's more out there. I'll be surprised if more doesn't drop at some point, being that this little tidbit has now dropped, because, let's face it, it wouldn't surprise me if someone had a more complete game here. Even if it was 50 or 60% complete, just imagine this could be backed in some form and done by indie developers to completion. Now, I'm sure Konami wouldn't like this, but, you know, at the end of the day, they're the ones who screwed up and canned the game anyway. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if this does become a passion project for someone if we get more of the elements out there. Now, like I said, whether, you know, this will actually officially get released for people to try themselves, I have my doubts, because I know how a lot of the Dreamcast community is great, but there can be points where material like this doesn't actually go any further than the person physically holding the disc, which is a shame for the community, but I can understand probably from a value point why this won't necessarily go and get released, unless it gets crowdfunded or something like that. Maybe then it will get released, because let's face it, that's how a lot of these end up happening, is they'll get crowdfunded and then they'll get released to the general public. I could see it going that way. Not that that's a bad thing for the person who actually does currently own it, you know, so it wouldn't surprise me if it does go that way. But as you can see, a fantastic looking Castlevania game, one that would have been perfect for the Sega Dreamcast. Just would have been so good. It's just such a shame. It always happens with these cancelled titles. They look so good, and then they get canned. Anyway, I've been Al from Games Rip. Hope you like this nice little look at the cancelled title of Castlevania Resurrection. It's an interesting one. Like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you all soon. You can now support the channel on patreon.com/GamesRip, as well as remember to like, comment and subscribe.